So now I'm about to read about physical weathering. Make sure that you take a minute and write the date, the full month, the date, and the year. And since we're going to read about physical weathering, I'm going to first remind myself, okay, I'm going to make my rock fist. Weathering is breaking apart. It's breaking down. Okay, and my silly mnemonic word was WWIT. WWIT space P, and then I go back and put a C next to the T to remind me that weathering is breaking down from wind, water, ice, temperature change, or plants. Now that I've activated in my mind what weathering means, I'm ready to begin reading so I can try to learn something from my text. Physical weathering happens when wind, water, ice, or plants cause rock to flake or crack. So there's my wind, water, ice, or plants. This text does not mention temperature change, and that's why it's important to have temperature change as a part of your mnemonic, because temperature change can cause physical weathering. The force of these materials causes rock to wear away or break down into smaller pieces. Well, I know that weathering means to break down, so that tracks, that makes sense. As the wind blows, small particles of sand and other materials hit the rock, cutting and shaping it. Some plant roots can grow inside rock, forcing the rock to crack. Flowing water can cause rocks to hit one another and break apart. Water can also enter cracks in rocks. If temperatures are cold enough, the water will freeze. The frozen water in the cracks expands and pushes against the rock, breaking it. Another way that ice weathers rock is in the form of glaciers. Glaciers are large sheets of slow-moving ice that cut and crack rock as they scrape over land. So now I'm ready to go back and read and annotate. So I knew what weathering was, and I activated that knowledge for myself. Physical weathering happens when wind, water, ice, or plants cause rock to flake or crack. I'm going to highlight that. The force of these materials cause rock to wear away or break into smaller pieces. So now they're going to give me more information about how wind, water, ice, or plants cause rock to crack or cause rock to flake. So as I'm reading, I'm going to watch for that. They said when wind, so that's number one. As the wind blows, small particles of sand and other materials hit the rock, cutting and shaping it. So this sentence gives me a definition, gives me an example, of how wind can cause a rock to weather, how wind can cause a rock to break down. Then they tell me some plant roots can grow inside a rock, forcing the rock to crack. So that's telling me about plants. I'm going to circle plants now that I've read about it. And I'm going to underline, plant roots can grow inside rock, forcing the rock to crack. Flowing water, so they're telling me now about water. Water can also enter cracks in rocks. If temperatures are cold enough, the water will freeze. The frozen water in the crack expands and pushes against the rock, breaking it. Another way that ice weathers rock, so now they're talking about ice, They use the connection between water and ice. I'm going to circle that now that I'm reading about it. Another way that ice weathers rock, another way that ice breaks down rock is in the form of glaciers. Glaciers are large sheets of slow-moving ice that cut and crack rock as they scrape over land. So glaciers are able to cut and crack rock. Let's see, did I get them all? Wind blows, causing materials to hit the rock. Plants grow inside rock, forcing the rock to crack. Oh, I missed flowing water. Water can cause rocks to hit one another and break apart. Water also enters cracks in rocks. The water will freeze. The frozen water expands and pushes against the rock, breaking it. So, there's a lot of details here. They give me this one sentence, and it's so powerful because they just mentioned that, hey, physical weathering happens when wind, water, ice, and plants cause rocks to crack or flake. And then they spend the rest of this passage telling me examples of how wind can cause a rock to break apart, how water can cause a rock to break apart, how plants can cause a rock to break apart, and how ice can cause a rock to break apart. And it's very subtle. You almost miss it because it says, well, what about our TC? Well, WITPA, wind, water, ice, temperature change, and plants. Well, rocks will break apart if water gets in those cracks and temperatures are cold enough, which means the temperature has to change. If you have liquid water that can flow and enter a rock, that means that the temperature is mild. It's a pretty mild temperature, right? And then once that water is in the crack and that water freezes, that means that the temperature has changed. It has dropped to freezing and the water has frozen. So there is the temperature change, and that's very subtle. It's very sneaky. All right. Now, before we move on, I want to take some notes about weathering. So let's take the notes, and we're going to put them here. Okay.